Alright, while I wait for Magic Duels to finish downloading in Steam, I thought I'd take a look at the two previews that Game of Thrones has put up for their upcoming chapter packs for Game of Thrones 2nd Edition. It was something that I thought was pretty ballsy because I'm pretty sure they put up this first preview for the first chapter pack before they had even sold the last chapter pack for the first edition game. So here they are previewing something they want you to buy when they haven't even sold you the last pack in the game they want you to kind of stop playing in the near future. That said, I think what you see looks interesting. They established that the first chapter pack is going to very much focus on the first book and the beginning of the series. Not entirely, because they still wanted to give some love to the houses that didn't really show up in those first books, or that first book. But we don't get a whole lot of looks at what we're going to be seeing. Half of it kind of plays as a preview for the base set. We do see some things. We'll get a good look at for the Watch, which, as you can see here, is a plot card that gives you 4 gold, 6 initiative, and has a 1 claim. And you cannot lose, and your opponent cannot win. The first challenge initiated against you each phase. Now, I think the wording's a little peculiar, because there's only 1 challenge phase. Everyone gets to take a turn in that phase, but there's only the 1 challenge phase. So whatever. And it has a 6 reserve. So it's really not a bad card, and it protects you from that first attack, which is a decent ability. Protects you from an attack. That's good. Decent stats though. Great reserve, great initiative, good gold. I definitely see it being playable in a Night's Watch deck. Here we can see Castle Winterfell, 3 gold location, Stronghold Winterfell. And what does that say? Something a warfare power challenge in which you control. During a warfare power challenge in which you control 2 or more unique participating characters, each of those characters gets plus something strength. I'm not sure if they talk about it down here. Well, they get plus some strength. That can be pretty terrifying, even if it's plus 1. I'm willing to bet it's probably in the plus 2 area. But even if it's plus 1, that's pretty scary, given that it's 2 unique characters. So odds are they're going to be pretty decent anyway. And unfortunately, we can't see really these 3, which is a shame. Same thing down here. We can't really make out these 3, which is too bad, because I like Greyjoys. I'd really like to see what that is. And the streets of the Sisters look like it might be interesting. And Maester Lewin. We'll see this card later. They preview this card down further. Then we have Muster the Realm, another plot card, 4/5/1, with the Edict keyword. During a challenge in which you control an attacking army character, raise the claim value on Muster the Realm by 1, and has reserve of 6. So that's really good, especially if you play any sort of army deck. I think almost every house we previewed had an option for an army. And then you also have the Wildling army in the neutral. Nope, definitely a neat plot card. I can see that getting a lot of play. Good gold, good initiative. A claim of 2 in any challenge that you use an army card in. And obviously the name of the first chapter pack is Taking the Black, so it's probably going to center heavily around the Night's Watch. And that's where we get Will the Ranger here. 4 gold, warfare and intrigue icons, 3 strength, Ranger keyword, stealth and insight. So he's really good for the price. I mean, that's pretty decent. But he does have the forced reaction. After you lose an unopposed challenge, sacrifice a Ranger character you control. And then we also have, we saw this earlier, the Watch has need. Action, name a trait, Builder, Ranger, or Steward. Search the top X cards of your deck for any number of characters with that trait. Reveal them and add them to your hand. Shuffle the other cards back into your deck. X is your reserve value. So it's not bad. It is hindered by the fact that it's based on your reserve value. But as they point out down here, if you have Counting Coppers, that's 10 cards. So that's a decent chunk of your deck. But if you have Feast of Crows, it's 4 cards. And most plot cards seem to be in that 5 or 6 area, so not terrible. And you're not really... It's 1 gold, so even if you don't find anything, It's a fishing expedition. You're not going to lose too much. And this comes out in the fourth quarter of this year. So, after looking at the first expansion pack, this is my thoughts going into it. With my gaming group, we're leery of the expansions. With the first edition, the game got so wildly out of control, and almost to the point where the houses became generic feeling to us and overpowered, that we're very leery of expansions. Now, expansions are necessary. You have to have them to keep the game dynamic, to keep it exciting, to keep it different, so you're not just playing the same thing over and over and over. So what we're looking for in any expansions we get is balance. We want to make sure there's no one ultra power card that is going to give any one house too much advantage over the others. And I don't necessarily see that here. There's a good plot card generally used. This guy's good, but he's got a tremendous drawback. Hey, no one's even near you. I have an elderly dog who gets angry at everything. So it's not bad. This first chapter pack, based on the handful of cards we saw, I don't necessarily mind, and I probably will pick up. That said, I would like to see some more. I'd like to see more. They give you a lot. Old Bear Mormont, The Wall, Count and Carver. Most of the cards they show on here are from the core set, and obviously we've already seen all those. So we do have, however, the second chapter pack, The Road to Winterfell, which again continues the theme of things that you might experience in the first book. And they hint at a Targaryen weapon that is so powerful, it's limited to one copy per deck. They don't show us what it is, but it'll be in there. So we've got, for the Baratheons, the Royal Entourage, 2 gold, for a 3 strength character with the Warfare and Power icons. So that's pretty good. Forced reaction after you lose an intrigue challenge, Neo Royal Entourage. So that sucks. But still, I think a very playable card, especially if you win initiative. We have Winterfell Castle. Oh, we actually saw this in the other page. So it's +2 strength. So that's pretty terrifying. Each of those characters gets +2 strength. During a Warfare Power challenge in which you control 2 or more unique participating characters, each of those characters get +2 strength. So you're looking at least a +4 swing in your favor in a Warfare Power challenge. So that's huge. 3 gold is kind of steep. Especially, it's a location, so you're going to marshal it. So I guess that's not terrible. I don't know. That's a good location. Probably one of the best we've seen yet, I think. Then we move down. Got a cool Lannister card. Definitely see it going into my deck. 3 gold, just the intrigue icon, 2 power. Brothel Madam, companion keyword. However, her ability, reaction. After the challenges phase begins, choose a player. That player may give you 1 gold from his or her gold pool until the end of the phase. If that player has not given you gold this phase, he or she cannot initiate a warfare challenge against you. So that's tremendous. Lancers have a lot of things they can do with gold in the challenge phase. So if they give you the gold, they're helping fund that stuff. If they don't, they can't initiate a warfare challenge against you. And as the Lannisters, that's a good thing. You don't want people doing warfare challenges against you. For instance, we have Wardens of the West, the plot card that is Lannister loyal. So we have 5 gold, 4 initiative, 1 claim, all pretty decent, and reaction. After you win an intrigue challenge, pay 2 gold to have the losing opponent choose and discard 2 cards from his or her hand, and it has a 6 reserve value. Plot deck limit of 1. So that's really good. Nice solid stats, nothing spectacular, nothing terrible, just good solid stats in the middle. But after you win the intrigue challenge, pay 2 gold to have them discard 2 cards from their hand. So that's tremendous. Potentially, say, it's in an intrigue challenge. Say you did it with Cersei. Your claim is 2. You pay 2, and they have to discard another 2 cards. That's 4 cards. And by this point in the game, odds are they only have 4 or 5 cards. So you could wipe out their entire hand. That's crushing. Especially when you combine it with certain other cards like Casterly Rock. You may initiate an additional intrigue challenge during the challenge phase, and Tyrion Lannister, who gives you the gold to pay for the card every time you initiate a challenge. So that is tremendous. This pack worries me more than the first pack. We're starting to see cards that creep up in the strength, but we see two cards that give two different houses two different very powerful abilities. What I want to see is how it impacts the other houses. After two packs, is there one house that's going to be lagging behind? Are we suddenly not going to be really playing the Tyrells because they kind of got screwed in two chapter packs and can't really compete with things like Warden of the West or Winterfell Castle or whatnot? Now, I have a lot of faith in Fantasy Flight Games. They seem to be doing really well with Game of Thrones 2nd Edition. But after my experience with 1st Edition, these are my concerns. I don't want one house to say... And again, they tease about that Targaryen weapon that is so powerful it's limited to one copy per deck. That's... So we're looking at three houses potentially getting a tremendous power boost. A tremendous... I mean, granted, they're singular cards. And literally, with the Targaryen weapon, it's a card. But still, I've seen singular cards destroy games before and make the game just not fun. And that's my fear, is that this beautiful game that me and my friends love to play, once again, draws us in and becomes not fun. I am hopeful, however, that Fantasy Flight Games is going to stay on the right track. And hopefully we get some more previews of the first and second chapter packs. I'd like to see some more cards. I'm a fan of just show us all the cards. Let us know what we're buying. There's no... I don't want to be surprised when I open up a chapter pack. We should know what all the cards are. I don't want to be let down. These aren't necessarily cheap, and there's really no reason to keep all the cards from us. Just show us the cards. The art is spectacular, as always. I really dig all the art. There's really not much art in the game that I don't care for. The Cersei card, is disappointing, but the art continues to stun throughout the chapter pack, so that's always a good thing. I just hope they don't get that power creep for their favorite houses like they did in the 1st edition. At least how I felt they did in the 1st edition. And there you have it. The previews for the first two chapter packs in the Game of Thrones 2nd edition, the card game, and my thoughts on them. Hope you enjoyed.